Hi everyone, welcome to Hue Spotlight, and I want to give a big welcome back to Justine. Welcome back to Hue Spotlight. It is so wonderful, girl, to see you and to see how things have changed since I think the last time you were on, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And yes, it is still R&B, and yes, the vocals are still there, but definitely a different tone and a different style. So, girl, I'm going to
Yeah,
let you take it away with Ghost Town, your latest single, and what's up with you.
thank you. Thank you. It is so good to be back. So nice to join you again. Yeah, and you're right. A lot has evolved, a lot has changed. I think the last time we got to sit down together or virtually together was during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And that was some of my first work that I had kind of put out into the world. And I'd say the biggest evolution is even the style of my writing. Back then, I was writing a lot of stuff that was kind of me in a relationship with this person or stories about relationships between two people. Whereas this body of work that I'm in right now is really kind of me versus me. And even Ghost Town was very much me, kind of just evaluating the parts of myself that self-isolate a lot when I'm struggling emotionally, mentally, and what that journey feels like. So that was kind of the seed of what started Ghost Town.
So, can we talk about this now? The personal experiences that you have now gone through since we last talked.
Yeah. It's been, I mean, and I know everybody, I think the pandemic was such a weird time for everyone, and we all emerged a little bit different, a little forever changed. But for myself, I feel like I've always been, as much as I'm a bubbly person, I love people, there's always been this other side that emotionally sometimes I do struggle with kind of going through these dips. And from when I was younger, I would just kind of call it the dark days. And it just felt like this heavy blanket, and I didn't really have words for it. I didn't really know how to talk to people about it. I didn't want to feel like a burden to share negative feelings. And I felt like it was sort of always my job to keep people upbeat and to be like the light for everyone. And then it left me in a point in my life where I'm like, what am I doing to light myself up when the darkness hits me? And what am I turning to and relying on? And fortunately, music has always been a space that I was able to do that. But yeah, it's been a lot of stuff that's kind of went down, and health issues of people very close to me, and navigating some different circumstances that kind of came on all at once. And so it hit a point where I was like, okay, I need to step back, check in with myself, make sure I'm good. I have a lot of my circle, my social circle. I feel like everybody's so balanced. They're going to therapy, they're doing their journaling, they're doing their check-ins. And for the longest time, I wasn't doing any of that. I wasn't taking any inventory on how I was feeling, and I was struggling a lot. So even still in the past couple of years, starting therapy, going back to writing and knowing that not everything has to be a song, but sometimes it's just to get feelings out, to be honest. And I kind of have been joking lately that I feel like the mission of some of my recent music is to kind of like make mental health sexy, make talking about mental health sexy. And not all of my songs, of course, are heavy and about that, but a lot of it is. I hope that it can invite a space to both just groove and feel all moody when you're listening to it, but also think, wait a minute, this is another person also saying sometimes they feel lonely and sometimes they struggle with that. And maybe we can do more than talk about it. We can listen to it in our music. We can just create an open space to come as we are.
Oh, and that is so true. What about isolation,
Mm.
Justine?
S- Yeah, such a default for me. I don't know why. I think that the pandemic was weird in a sense that part of me struggled with it. And then once I got used to it, I'm like, no, you know what? I think even growing up, I was always that person that handled stuff very privately, very on my own. I didn't want to call people back until I was in higher spirits. My text messages were piling up. And so I think I find, and I was going to say found, I still find a bit of comfort in it. And I don't know why. And even with Ghost Town, it was this kind of contrasting feeling that I felt where I felt comfortable alone. But then when I looked up, naturally, because I pulled away so much, my circle felt like a bit of a ghost town. And it's nobody's fault. Nobody did anything. But, you just go off the radar long enough that when you pop back up, you're like, hey, where is everybody? And I found that that was sometimes isolation was letting me be creative and it was giving me time to focus inwards. But honestly, sometimes it's just a really bad habit that I have. And it's that negative self-talk that I'm sure we all feel sometimes where you're thinking, oh man, if I call this person and unload everything I'm going through, what if it's going to weigh them down? And just all these things we tell ourselves. So
Mm-hmm.
isolation is a comfortable habit for me that I'm trying to break, to be honest with you.
Well, making Ghost Town, you certainly weren't isolated. You had a
Yeah.
lot of support, and
Yes.
including the K Forest, who's featured in this song. So, talk about that
Mm.
relationship.
Yeah, so Kate Forrest is somebody that I've admired for a long time, an amazing artist based out of Toronto. And it came to be in kind of an interesting way where some members of my team brought up that might be a great collaboration. And I was like, truly say less, because I have been a fan for a long time, met him a couple times, and he's such a sweet, kind person. And so we sent the song over his way, and he knew the context of the song. He knew a little bit about what the origins of its meaning. But the really cool thing is he remotely wrote his part, put together the vocals, did the melodies, did it all from his interpretation, and then sent it back. And to this day, we actually still haven't seen each other in the same room since we've done the song. So we did it, ironically enough, kind of isolated. But the really amazing thing about that was hearing his take on it. I think he took that perspective of being the person who is closed out in the relationship, who gets iced out. And so hearing what he did with it, I felt like I got to hear my song through new ears and see it through new eyes. And yeah, he did so great. It was such a great collaboration that I'm still very excited about.
Oh, and so, obviously, the new single is out. When will the new album be out?
Fabulous question. I feel like forever we've been working away at this in the back end. And so the target right now is likely towards the end of this year. Most of the pieces are kind of done and ready to go. At the very latest, we might put it out early next year, but we'll see. Long story short is it's coming within the next, I'd say, 5-ish months. It should
Aw.
be out.
And is Justine happy? Is she in a good place?
Girl, Justine is peaceful, happy, and I mean, I use happy in a way that I'm not saying everything is always great, but it's kind of starting to learn to appreciate the waves a little bit, to seek support when you need it. But yeah, I'm happy. I have this inner sense of calm that I think if you would have asked me this 3 or 4 years ago, I'd be like, oh, I'm happy. And on the inside, I'm bursting. But right now, I feel genuinely really, really happy. So
Well,
life is
we
good.
are all happy for you. And we have coming up a video of Ghost Town, but a different version of Ghost Town, correct? So I'll let you
Yeah,
introduce the song and maybe
yeah,
the story behind it, this version.
absolutely. Absolutely. So this is an entirely stripped down, raw, completely raw version of Ghost Town. And the ironic thing is speaking of it being kind of about isolation and all of that kind of stuff, this the acoustic accompaniment came from my husband. And he was up for the task, and a lot of times him and I like to sit and play some music together. So we created this version together. So this is from our heart to yours.
Thank you so much, Justine.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Mister, when I felt like desperados, running till the sun goes down, dressing up the lonely with bravado, circles like a ghost town, circles like a ghost town. Had to be so steady all of them. Signs that make that don't sense so easily. second time this week that I fall to pieces. All the lights around, everybody sleep. Where do we go when we're all alone? I try to reach you, but nobody's home. Is it my doing? I do the shit alone. Population zero, feeling like a ghost town. Mr. I felt like desperados, running till the sun goes down. Dressing up the lonely with bravado, circles like a ghost town. Circles like a ghost town.